Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to Heartland Dual Sport. We're in southwest Missouri, riding in part of the Mark Twain National Forest area. Appreciate you tuning in to Heartland Dual Sport. Let's go ride. Good morning, and thanks for tuning in to Heartland Dual Sport. Again, this is Dale, and we are out riding with Woodsman and his son and Blake, and we're just going down some of these awesome roads here in the Mark Twain National Forest. And again, I think we've already talked about the audio problems that I had. Some of my videos you could actually hear me talking, but it was basically a bunch of yeah and right and whatnot, because Frank's telling me about the area as we're going through it. But this is another one of the videos that I don't believe, I mean, you can't even hear engine noise or anything else. And again, that was a problem with the Cena not linking up with the 20S that I have. And I'm 99% sure I've got that corrected for my next outing, so that'll be a little more pleasant. But again, the videos, there's quite a bit to see and do here in southwest Missouri in the Mark Twain National Forest, and there is a plethora of old dirt roads. And as you start riding some of these old, what I'm going to call logging roads, I mean, I don't think they actually cut trees down here for logging purposes or whatever, but we have land down in southeastern Oklahoma, and it's called Weyerhaeuser land, and all that land down there is old logging roads, because they still have logging mills and whatnot down in there. But that's kind of what these dirt roads remind me of. But as you're going along these dirt roads here in southwest Missouri and even into Arkansas, you've got a lot of trails that spur off of the main dirt roads, and it just gives you a lot more things to go and do and look at and see. And I believe in our last video we were talking about some of the reasons to buy a dual sport. And if you end up buying a dual sport, and it doesn't really matter, you know, I mean, probably any of them. I'm going to talk about a couple of the mods that I've done on my DRZ400 today, and I think that some of the mods would probably apply as well. It doesn't matter if you're on a KLR or even like Frank's Honda 250L. Some of these mods are going to be things that you're going to want to do to your dual sport if you end up getting one, or if you already have one. These are some things to think about, and I'm going to not necessarily rank them in order, but I'll go over a few of them this morning with you, and some of the mods that we've done to the DRZ. And again, I haven't done a whole lot to the DRZ, and some of the things that we'll talk about, I'll explain why I have or have not done it. And you know, if you start looking at a lot of the forums, there's quite a few things that guys say are a must, and I'll explain to you why I have or have not done some of these must-do items, and you can make up your own mind as to what you want to do. But the number one thing that you want to get right off the bat, if you're going to be riding off on some of these trails like we're going to be riding today, and as you watch this video, it's just going to get rougher and rougher and rockier and rockier. The DRZ does not really have a skid plate to speak of when you get it brand new or whatever. And Flatland Racing has started making the skid plate for the DRZ400. And then I also have the Radiator guards. And if you have not had a chance, pull up both those videos. I've got a real good video on both of them. I've got an install video on the Radiator guards for the DRZ400, and then I've also got a real quick install video on the Flatland racing skid plate. And not that it's difficult or anything. I mean, it was just a way to introduce the skid plate to you without, you know, being extremely boring. We just did a many. I mean, it's a 4-bolt deal, so I mean, it's not like there's a great deal of install required for the skid plate, but the Flatland Racing radiator guards are probably the best on the market. There's a bunch of different ones, and the reason I want to rank them the best is if you watch the video, it actually will protect your radiator guards if you get into a situation, say you kind of catch a tree limb or something like that, run into something. It actually has support forward and rearward, as well as laying it over on the side. But all these are mistakes that can happen when you get out on the trail. I've ran into a couple of small trees, nothing big, but that could be something that could shift your radiator, and with the Flatland radiator guards, I have not had that problem. And that's probably the two biggest things that I've done on my bike as far as protection for the parts. And I can't really think of anything else I've done. I mean, that's pretty much it. I've got the hand guards. I think hand guards anymore are kind of standard equipment. People are gonna put brand A or B on their hand guards anyways, and that's just another good way to save your levers more than anything. I mean, it may protect your hand in a small crash if you run into a small tree or something like that, but more than anything, I've noticed that when you lay the bike over, they really just kind of protect your levers so that you're not breaking levers off out in the middle of nowhere. And if you guys have been watching my loadout videos on my bags, I generally carry spare levers anyways, so that's actually something that I do carry and keep on the bike no matter, pretty much everywhere I go. I've got that and a few tools to get me going if something breaks down, but the hand guards really are a big plus to have on the bike protection. And then probably what I'm going to rank is one of the mods that's probably a little more expensive, but something that you need to seriously consider thinking about getting. And unless you're 150 pounds, then you can pretty much skip this. But if your body weight and your pack out loadout weight is more than 150, this is something that I need to just kind of spend a little bit of time and explain to you about the suspension. The suspension on the DRZ400, and you can even say the KLR 650, and I'll talk about both these bikes since I own them both, and I'll kind of tell you my thoughts on the suspension. When you first bring home a DRZ, if it hadn't had any suspension mods done to it, from the factory it's set up for roughly 150 pound rider. So what that means is when you hop on it, you get this really nice plush springy feel, which actually makes the bike feel kind of cool. But the problem is once you start going over any whoops or any rocks or any really rough terrain, it's going to start bottoming out on you, and it's only a matter of time before your shocks end up getting damaged from bottoming out too hard. You can end up really tearing up your equipment if you're not careful. And again, I mean, you guys have watched my videos. I don't ride really rough or really fast or do anything really hard. I'm getting old. Takes a long time for me to heal up, so I'm not going to go near as fast as I used to when I was a kid, and I know Kevin, bless his heart, he's kind of made fun of me on Facebook and a couple other deals, and I just kind of giggle, and I was thinking, boy, if he knew me when I was younger, he may not be saying that. But bottom line is I'm getting on up there in age, and I really don't want to hurt myself. And one thing that I have noticed as you get older, you start picking up the tab on these emergency room visits, and you're less likely to do stupid stuff out there. But anyways, that's a whole nother story, and I just kind of want to razz Kevin in this video anyways, because he's just a really good kid. But staying on track, like I was saying, the suspension from the factory on both the KLR and the DRZ comes set up roughly for a 150 pound rider. Now, I've taken my DRZ before I went on the K Trail, let me back up. Before I went on the K Trail, we had taken our bikes out several times to the river here in Oklahoma City area and ridden on a bunch of different places. And the one thing that I noticed, even not being loaded out, is we went through some hoops and whoops, whatever you want to call them, and my bike would actually, I could feel it touching the bottom. Now, it wasn't slamming down hard or anything else, but I mean, I knew I was at the bottom of the suspension. So I mean, you can feel it. And even with me standing up and using my legs to spring as we were going over the whoops, it would still in the bottom as it started coming back up. You could feel the bike start to bottom out. And that's again, it's problematic. It's not set up for my body weight, and then, like I say, you could end up tearing up your shocks. And the DRZ actually comes with really good forks and pretty decent rear shock as well. The problem is it's just not set up for the weight. So I took mine to a guy here locally. His name's Mike. He does Mike's Custom Suspension Shop. He's located in Mustang. He redid the springs and the forks for me and added a little bit more weight because I told him I was going to be packing out gear on the front as well. And I also, in case I ever decided to get a bigger gas tank, I wanted the springs that would hold a little more weight, i.e. for gas, because right now I've got a tank bag, fender bag, and a number plate bag up front. And then on the rear, I was going to be, for the most part, setting the bike up for when I'm going out on multi-day trips. And on the multi-day trips, I knew I was going to be adding about 50 pounds to the rear. So I had the spring on the rear shock set up for that, as well as the front fork springs were replaced as well. And again, the DRZ comes with pretty good shocks, front and rear. The suspension on it is actually pretty good. The only problem is, like I said, it's set up for a 150-pound rider, and to me, that's one of the best mods that you can actually do. And again, I know it's a little expensive. You can probably find somebody, if you're in the Oklahoma City area, shoot me a message and I'll give you Mike's info, or I may even add the link to it down below. But Mike does a great job, and he can get your bike set up for you for your body weight. And that way, when you get out here on these roads, I mean, one of the big advantages to having a dual sport is the ground clearance. And if you get on your bike and you're smashing it down 2 or 3 inches because you're heavier than what the bike's set up for, you're losing that 2 or 3 inches of ground clearance that you thought you had. So again, I mean, it does a world of good to go ahead and get your suspension set up for you and get it set up for your weight. And then one of the next mods that you hear a lot of people talking about is the airbox mod. And I'm going to go over real quick. As you see, we're going to be going through several water crossings here, and that's one of the main reasons I did not do the airbox mod. That's to me, when you get out in the middle of nowhere, and especially like even where we're out here, I mean, we're base camping out of Roaring River State Park, but it's a long ways back to camp. And this particular trail that I'm on right here, it would be very, very difficult to tow a bike out of. And if you went down in the water, or you end up splashing up too much water up into your airbox, and it creates a whole nother problem for your bike running, maybe even killing your bike, or worse yet, you fell in the water and then you've got a bike full of water. That's one of the main reasons I've never done the airbox mod, and I don't plan on doing it. If I end up feeling like I need a lot more power down the road, then there's other options to do as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to be, that's just, again, that's my personal preference. I've gotten stuck out in the rain numerous times, and that K-Trail, if you guys have watched any of them videos, I mean, that's just a tremendous amount of water we were going through, and I could really see that being problematic with the airbox mod. And I may be wrong, but it's just not something that I'm willing to gamble on, especially when you get 2 days out on a 3 or 4 day ride. That's a long ways from help. But and then the gas tank, I just haven't redone it. It may be something that I end up doing. The gas tank that comes on the DRZ is not very big, but that may be something that I end up doing. Right now I'm carrying a roto pack on the back, and it's got an extra gallon of gas. And to me, I mean, if you're going to put a 3-gallon tank on the DRZ, I'd rather keep the stock tank because I like the looks of it and I like the feel of it. And just carry a roto pack on the back. And again, I've got the suspension set up for that. And one of the things I want to say real quick on the KLR, one of the really, and I would almost call this dangerous, the suspension on the front forks of the KLR is so soft that you get a lot of nosedive if you end up grabbing the front brake. And where that becomes problematic in a lot of situations is if you're going down a hill or up a hill, and you end up, especially going down a hill, and you end up smashing on the front brakes to slow your bike down, and you get that extreme nosedive, it creates a huge weight shift problem that could lead to a fall. Whereas if you had your suspension set up for your body weight and the springs to match and the front forks, that might actually save you from falling over. It would create less of a hazard when you're on the trails. And with that said, I want to thank each and every one of you. If you guys went over to Riding Man, he was teamed up with Cogent on a front fork giveaway for the KLR, and I'd like to just thank everybody who was involved in that and who donated, and congrats to the winner, because by the time this video comes out, the winner will have already been announced. But good for you guys, and congrats to the winner. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to talk to you about suspension on the DRZ, and then a couple of the mods that I've done to kind of save my bike if I crash or hit the rocks. And again, if you enjoyed our video, share our video with your friends. If you know anybody looking to get a DRZ and they're thinking about doing some mods for their DRZ, share our video with them. And again, we love your comments, likes, and subscribes. And may you have a blessed week.